Ladies and gentlemen, every one of us is fighting a battle, but it is not always the one people see on the outside. It is not the war in nations, not the conflicts between people, but the unseen war within the mind. This is the battle that defines who become, what you achieve, and how far you go in life. The greatest prison is not the one made of iron bars, it is the prison of wrong thoughts. The greatest battlefield is not fought with guns or swords, it is fought with beliefs, imaginations, and ideas. This war is constant, silent, and powerful. The person who wins this war will rule their destiny, and the one who loses it will remain a captive even while walking free. Every decision you make, every action you take, every limitation you feel, it all begins with the thoughts you allow to live in your mind. Your future does not begin in your circumstances, it begins in your thinking. Someone once said, you are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. That is the essence of the war within the mind. So today, let me walk you through 9 powerful principles that will help you fight and win this war. Thoughts are seeds. Every single idea that crosses your mind is like a seed being dropped into the soil of your heart and your life. What you allow to stay in your mind, what you choose to water with attention, repetition, and focus, will eventually grow into a tree that bears fruit in your life. If you plant the seed of fear, you cannot expect to harvest courage. If you plant a seed of doubt, you cannot expect to reap confidence. The truth is, your life today is the visible harvest of the invisible seeds you planted yesterday. Think about it for a moment. When a farmer takes a seed in his hand, he knows that inside that seed is a forest. But he also knows that the seed has no chance of becoming a forest unless he plants it in the ground, waters it, and protects it. In the same way, every thought you choose to keep in your mind carries within it the potential to become something much bigger than itself. One negative thought can grow into a lifetime of fear, while one powerful thought can birth a destiny of greatness. Many people underestimate the power of a single thought. They say, "It is just in my head, it does not matter." But the truth is, what starts in your head becomes a habit, and what becomes a habit becomes your character, and what becomes your character shapes your destiny. So when you say, "It is just a thought," you are really holding the future in your hands. Imagine someone wakes up in the morning and the first thought that comes is, "Today will be hard, I am tired, I cannot do this." That seed, though invisible, is already planted. As the day goes on, that person unconsciously waters it with more words like, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "Life is unfair." By the evening, the seed has grown into frustration, and by the night it has produced fruit in the form of discouragement, stress, or anger. On the other hand, another person wakes up and says, "Today is a new day, I may not control everything, but I can control my response. I am strong enough to handle whatever comes." That seed begins to grow into resilience, hope, and eventually success. The difference was not the day itself, but the seeds planted at the start. Thoughts are like seeds in that they reproduce after their kind. Apple seeds produce apples, not oranges. In the same way, thoughts of peace will produce calm, not chaos. Thoughts of generosity will produce kindness, not selfishness. Thoughts of gratitude will produce joy, not bitterness. Whatever you continually meditate on will eventually show up in your life. Look at the stories of people who achieved extraordinary things. Long before they became inventors, leaders, or creators, they first planted seeds of belief in their minds. They imagined a better future. They entertained ideas that others dismissed, and they nurtured those thoughts until they grew into innovations, movements, and legacies. The seed was small, but the harvest was life-changing. Yet the same principle works in reverse. When someone keeps saying, "I will never succeed, I do not deserve love, I am not capable," those thoughts become weeds that choke out possibility. They are like toxic seeds that grow into limiting beliefs, and those limiting beliefs become invisible walls around their lives. Many people are not trapped by lack of opportunity, but by the seeds of defeat they allow to grow unchecked. Your mind is like fertile ground. It does not decide what to grow. It simply grows whatever is planted and nurtured. The responsibility is on you to choose which seeds to sow. That is why you must be vigilant about the information you consume, the conversations you entertain, and the self-talk you repeat. Every word, every image, every idea is a seed. The question is, will you allow weeds to take over, or will you deliberately plant seeds of vision, hope, and strength? Even in daily life, you can see the power of seeds. When a student says, "I cannot pass this exam," that thought becomes a seed that shapes their study habits, their confidence, and eventually their results. But when another student says, "This subject is challenging, but I can learn it step by step," that seed produces persistence, and persistence produces mastery. The external difference may be small at first, but over time the harvest is worlds apart. Think of relationships. A thought like, "No one cares about me," is a seed that grows into isolation, bitterness, and broken connections. But a thought like, "I can bring joy to others," grows into kindness, friendship, and love. Your relationships are a garden, and the seeds are your thoughts about yourself and others. Thoughts are seeds, and seeds need time. Just as no farmer expects a seed to bear fruit overnight, you cannot expect instant results from the seeds of thought you plant. If you plant positivity today, you may not see the fruit tomorrow, but with patience, consistency, and care, it will manifest. The challenge is that many people plant seeds of hope but uproot them with impatience or negativity before they can grow. You must learn to trust the process of growth. The secret is that you are always planting, whether you know it or not. Every complaint is a seed. Every word of encouragement is a seed. Every image you hold in your mind is a seed. Life will give back to you according to what you plant. If you want peace, plant thoughts of peace. If you want success, plant thoughts of success. If you want strength, plant thoughts of strength. The greatest gift you can give yourself is to become intentional about the seeds you allow in your mind. When you face challenges, you can either plant seeds of fear that whisper, "This is the end," or seeds of courage that declare, "This is my new beginning." When others doubt you, you can plant seeds of insecurity. Or you can plant seeds of determination that say, "I will show through my actions what I am capable of." Life is not determined by the circumstances outside you as much as it is by the seeds you are planting within you. The garden of your mind is your greatest asset, and it is your responsibility to decide what grows there. Your mind is a battlefield of voices every single day, from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed. There are voices fighting for your attention, your belief, and your agreement. These voices are not loudspeakers on the outside. They are the silent whispers on the inside. One voice tells you that you can do it, while another insists you will fail. One voice pushes you forward, another pulls you backward. One voice says you are capable, another says you are not enough. This is the invisible conflict every human faces, the war that no one else can hear but everyone experiences. Think about how you start your day. The alarm clock rings and immediately the battlefield opens. One voice says, "Get up, today is full of opportunities. You can make it a great day." Another voice just as quickly says, "Stay in bed, nothing good will happen, it's too hard." Which one you listen to determines the direction of your day. The power is not in the alarm clock, not in the weather, not in the circumstances around you, but in which voice you choose to believe. Daily life is proof of this battlefield. A student walks into the exam hall. One voice tells him, "You have prepared, you know what to do, trust yourself." Another voice says, "You are not smart enough, you will forget everything." The battle is not between the questions on the paper and his knowledge. The real battle is between the voices in his mind. Whichever one he obeys will decide the outcome. A young professional goes to a job interview. Before stepping into the room, one voice whispers, "You are qualified, you belong here. Speak with confidence." But another voice says, "You don't deserve this, they will reject you." She has the choice to feed the empowering voice or to bow to the limiting one. The interviewer does not even know the war taking place inside, but that inner decision will shape how she speaks, how she carries herself, and whether she convinces them she is right for the role. The battlefield of voices does not rest. When you dream of starting something new, one voice tells you, "This is your chance. Take it, you can grow, you can build, you can achieve." Another voice argues, "People like you never succeed. It is too risky. You will embarrass yourself." Both voices are speaking, and the stronger one will be the one you feed with attention. These voices often come from experiences, from fears, from memories, from things people have said to you. Maybe someone once told you that you were not good enough, and now that voice echoes in your mind every time you try to move forward. Maybe you experienced failure before, and that failure now disguises itself as a voice of caution telling you not to try again. At the same time, you have voices of courage, vision, and hope that remind you of your potential, your resilience, and your ability to rise. You cannot stop the voices from coming, but you can choose which ones to empower. Imagine your mind like a courtroom. There are arguments presented by both sides. One side is the prosecutor of doubt, fear, insecurity, and weakness. And the other side is the defender of courage, strength, determination, and faith. Every day you are the judge. Whichever side you agree with will become the ruling in your life. Consider how this works in relationships. You may have a conflict with someone close to you. One voice says, "Forgive them, build peace, it's worth saving." Another voice says, "Stay angry, punish them, don't let go." The relationship is not destroyed by the argument itself, but by which voice you obey in your mind. In health, the same battlefield exists. When a person feels sick, one voice says, "Take care of yourself, you will recover, stay hopeful." Another voice says, "This is the end, you won't make it." People who listen to the hopeful voice often find strength to heal, while those who bow to despair lose the fight before the battle has even begun. The battlefield of voices also decides how far you go in life. When you get an idea to start a business, to write a book, to create something new, one voice says, "You can't, you don't have the resources, who will support you?" Another voice says, "Every great success started with a single idea. You have what it takes to begin." Both voices are real, both are speaking, but your destiny will follow the one you agree with. What makes this war so powerful is that no one else can fight it for you. Others can encourage you, motivate you, or guide you. But at the end of the day, when you lie down in silence, the voices in your mind still speak, and you must decide which one wins. Think of the people who achieved greatness. They all faced the voice of doubt, the voice of fear, the voice of ridicule. But they chose to amplify the voice that told them to try, to persist, to believe. If they had surrendered to the negative voice, we would never have known their names. On the other hand, think of how many people had potential but listened to the wrong voice and lived small, hidden lives, never becoming who they were meant to be. This is why the battlefield of voices is the most important battleground of life. The external wars may affect your circumstances, but the internal war decides your destiny. No matter how much talent, skill, or opportunity you have, if the wrong voice wins inside your mind, you will sabotage yourself before the world even has a chance to stop you. Every morning, every decision, every dream is fought on this battlefield. And the truth is, the voices you consistently obey become stronger. The more you agree with fear, the louder it becomes. The more you agree with courage, the more dominant it grows. That is why you must train yourself to recognize which voice is leading you to growth and which one is holding you back. This war within the mind is not a one-time battle. It is daily, constant, and invisible. But if you learn to master it, if you learn to strengthen the right voice and silence the wrong one, then you will not just survive the battles of life, you will conquer them from within. Imagination builds your future. Imagination is not just a daydream, not just a picture floating in your mind with no weight. It is the blueprint of everything you will one day touch, see, and live in. Every building you walk into was once an image in someone's imagination. Every invention you use daily, from your phone to your car, was first born in the unseen place of imagination. Before it became a reality you could hold, it was a vision that someone dared to believe in. When you close your eyes and picture your tomorrow, you are not wasting time. You are designing the architecture of your destiny. The tragedy is that many people stop imagining because life taught them to settle. As children, imagination came easily. We could see ourselves as heroes, inventors, creators. But as adults, the voices of doubt and limitation convinced us to shrink our visions, to call our dreams unrealistic. Yet history proves that those who held onto their imagination, even when it looked impossible, became the ones who shaped the world. Think about Thomas Edison. Before he gave the world the light bulb, he had to see it in his mind. Others mocked him. Others said it could not be done, but he held on to that inner picture. Every failure was just another step closer to making his imagination tangible. Think about the airplane. Long before the Wright brothers ever lifted into the sky, they imagined humans flying like birds. Imagination gave them courage to attempt what seemed ridiculous at the time. Today, millions fly across the world daily because two men refuse to let imagination die. This is not just about inventors or world changers. This is about you. What do you imagine when you think about your life, your career, your family, your future? Because whatever picture dominates your mind will eventually direct your actions. If you imagine failure, you will unconsciously walk toward failure. If you imagine success, you will create opportunities to reach success. The mind cannot move in a direction it has never seen. Your legs follow where your eyes look, and your life follows where your imagination points. In daily life, the proof is everywhere. A student who imagines herself graduating at the top of her class begins to study differently. Her imagination of holding that degree fuels her discipline, even when it is hard to keep going. Another student who only imagines failure eventually stops trying because in his mind he already lost the battle. Two people, same school, same resources, but their imaginations led them into two different futures. Think about someone working in an office. One person imagines himself stuck in the same position for years, so he never grows, never improves, never prepares for more. Another person in the same office imagines himself leading a team, creating new solutions, making impact. Because of that imagination, he starts learning, growing, showing initiative. Eventually, what was once imagination becomes reality. The difference was not opportunity, it was vision. The truth is, imagination is rehearsal for destiny. When athletes train, they often visualize themselves winning before the competition. They see themselves crossing the finish line. They see themselves scoring the goal. They see themselves lifting the trophy. Science proves that the brain responds to imagination almost as strongly as it does to actual experience. This means every time you imagine yourself succeeding, your mind is practicing for that success. Every time you imagine yourself breaking free from limitations, your brain is rehearsing the freedom before it even happens. But imagination can also destroy if used wrongly. When you constantly imagine the worst, you are rehearsing disaster. When you see yourself as unworthy, you are practicing failure before life even gives you the chance to try. Imagination is neutral. It is the content you feed it that makes it powerful for your future or poisonous for your present. A person struggling financially who imagines abundance begins to think differently, begins to act differently, begins to see opportunities. Another person in the same situation who imagines lack will keep making choices that reinforce that lack. The external situation may be the same, but their imaginations are shaping two very different tomorrows. Consider relationships. Someone who imagines rejection in every friendship or romance eventually pushes people away. They are acting out the movie playing in their head. Another person who imagines healthy, loving connections naturally attracts them because they already live out that script in their behavior. What you continually see in your mind eventually finds a way into a reality. That is why imagination is not childish. It is not a game. It is your most powerful tool of creation. Life is built twice, first in the mind, then in reality. If you want a better tomorrow, start by imagining it today. If you want to break free from cycles of failure, picture yourself already free, Hold that picture, nurture it, feed it, and let it guide your steps. The danger is not that people aim too high and miss, but that they aim too low in their imagination and hit. If your imagination is small, your future will be small. If your imagination is big, your future has room to expand. You must give yourself permission to dream bigger than your environment, bigger than your circumstances, bigger than what people expect of you. Every great leader, every builder, every pioneer lived in the reality of their imagination before the world saw it. They walked in it mentally long before they walked in it physically. Your imagination is proof of what is possible for you. It is like a preview of coming attractions. The more you believe it, the more you act on it, the faster it moves from unseen to seen. So when you close your eyes and picture your tomorrow, do not dismiss it as fantasy. Understand that you are holding the seed of your future in the soil of your imagination. What you repeatedly see will shape what you eventually become. Imagination is not a luxury, it is the foundation of transformation. Your life follows your dominant thoughts. The direction of your future is not decided by chance, not by luck, not even by the things happening around you, but by the thoughts you consistently choose to carry inside you. Your mind is like the steering wheel of your destiny. Whatever thought you hold on to the most, whatever you meditate on again and again, that becomes the path your life begins to travel. Look around at the world. Every invention, every achievement, every failure, every downfall, all of them started with a thought that became dominant in someone's mind. You cannot live beyond the pictures you hold inside. You cannot rise above the pattern of thinking you repeat daily. A person who constantly believes, I am not good enough, I am not capable, I will never succeed, will eventually create a life that proves those thoughts true. Not because life is against them, but because their own thinking became the architect of their reality. Imagine two people standing in the same room, facing the same circumstances. One person thinks, this is an opportunity. I can learn, I can grow, I can make it work. The other thinks, this is too hard, I am not qualified, it will never work. Though they are in the same environment, their lives will go in completely different directions because life follows dominant thoughts. One sees possibility and therefore acts with courage. The other sees defeat and therefore holds back. Your dominant thoughts are like a magnet. They attract the situations, the people, the choices, and the outcomes that align with them. If you constantly think about failure, you unconsciously prepare for failure. And sooner or later, failure shows up. If you constantly think about progress, you train your actions to move toward progress, and sooner or later, progress manifests. Consider the example of a student, the one who constantly thinks, oh, I am intelligent, I can master this subject, studies differently with confidence and determination. The one who constantly thinks, oh, I am not smart, I cannot do this, becomes careless, distracted, and discouraged. Eventually, their grades reflect not just their study habits, but their dominant thoughts. Think about health. If someone constantly tells themselves, I am weak, I am sick, I will never recover, their body begins to respond to the hopelessness of their thoughts. Stress rises, energy falls, and their condition worsens. Another person facing the same health challenge says, I will fight, I will recover, I will take care of myself. Their mind fuels their resilience, their body responds to the energy of hope, and healing becomes more possible. The condition may be the same, but the dominant thoughts determine the direction. Even in relationships, dominant thoughts are powerful. Someone who always thinks, people cannot be trusted, everyone will hurt me, eventually behaves with suspicion, pushes others away, and ends up alone. Another person who thinks, there are good people, I can build healthy connections, acts with openness, kindness, and eventually attracts real friendships. It was not luck, it was the fruit of dominant thoughts. Your dominant thoughts shape your attitude, and your attitude shapes how others see you. If you constantly think, I am unworthy, you carry yourself with insecurity, and people treat you the way you present yourself. If you constantly think, I am valuable, I have something to offer, you carry yourself with confidence, and people respond to that energy. Life mirrors what you think of yourself. Your thoughts are not silent passengers, they are the captain steering your ship. Every time you focus on a thought, you are giving it authority to guide your actions. Imagine someone who constantly thinks, I cannot afford to fail. Their thought dominates them so much that they never try anything new, never take risks, never stretch. Their life becomes smaller and smaller. Another person who thinks, failure is part of learning, I can grow from it, becomes bold, adventurous, and eventually achieves more. Not because they were more talented, but because their dominant thoughts gave them freedom. Dominant thoughts also determine your resilience in tough times. When storms of life hit, one person thinks, this is the end, I cannot handle this, and they collapse under the pressure. Another person in the same storm thinks, this is hard, but it is shaping me, I will rise stronger. That dominant thought becomes fuel for endurance. Look at the lives of leaders and dreamers. Long before anyone believed in them, they carried dominant thoughts of greatness, vision, and possibility. People called them foolish, unrealistic, even crazy, but they chose to hold on to their inner picture. Over time, life bent in the direction of their thoughts. Their external world began to reflect their internal belief. Dominant thoughts are like the script of a movie, and your life is the stage. You cannot act outside the script you hold inside your mind. If your thoughts tell you that you are small, you will act small. If your thoughts tell you that you are strong, you will act strong. In daily life, you can see this truth everywhere. A child constantly told, "You are capable, you are smart, you are loved," grows with confidence and courage because those thoughts become dominant. Another child constantly told, "You are useless, you are a failure," grows with fear and insecurity because those thoughts dominate their inner world. Both children may have the same potential, but their lives follow their dominant thoughts. Dominant thoughts are not just what you think occasionally, but what you repeat consistently. A passing idea does not shape your life, but a repeated thought becomes a belief, and belief becomes destiny. This is why you must pay attention to what plays on repeat in your mind. Your life is proof of your thought patterns. If you want to change your life, you must first change the dominant thoughts guiding it. Every time you wake up, your mind gives you options to think of defeat or to think of victory, to focus on limitation or to focus on possibility. Whichever one you allow to dominate will determine the quality of your day and, over time, the quality of your life. Mental strongholds must be broken. A stronghold is not made of bricks and stones. It is made of ideas, patterns, and beliefs that chain your mind and keep you from moving forward. It is like a fortress in your thinking, built over time by repeated lies, painful experiences, and negative voices. A stronghold convinces you that you cannot, when in reality you can. It convinces you that you are trapped, when in truth the prison door is wide open. Think about how strongholds form. A child hears repeatedly that they are not smart, that they will never amount to anything. Those words are planted like seeds, watered by rejection, fed by failure until they grow into a belief system. "I am not capable." This becomes a mental stronghold. Every opportunity that comes is filtered through that belief. No matter how talented the person is, the stronghold tells them, "You are not good enough." In daily life, strongholds show up everywhere. Someone may want to start a business, but the thought rises, "People like me never succeed." Someone may want to build a healthy relationship, but the thought says, "Everyone will eventually hurt me." Someone may want to step into leadership, but the stronghold whispers, "You don't have what it takes." These thoughts act like invisible walls. You can see the future, you can dream of it, but every time you try to step forward, you hit the wall of the stronghold. Mental strongholds are powerful because they are invisible. If you were tied with ropes, you would see the ropes and try to break them. But strongholds are inside your mind, so you live with them for years, sometimes even believing they are truth. You don't question them because they feel normal. You say things like, "This is just who I am," or "This is how life is." But what you call normal is really a cage built by lies. Imagine someone who grew up in poverty. Every day they heard, "Money is evil, people like us will always struggle, wealth is not for us." As an adult, even when they get opportunities to prosper, the stronghold of poverty thinking makes them sabotage success. They spend recklessly, or they refuse to take risks, or they avoid opportunities because deep inside the stronghold whispers, "You are not meant for more." The real problem is not money, it is the mindset. Strongholds are like computer programs running in the background of your life. You may not even realize they are there, but they keep directing your behavior. If the program says failure, every time you try something new, you find yourself quitting. If the program says fear, every time you want to take a step forward, you hesitate. You cannot live free until you uninstall the wrong program and replace it with the right one. Daily life examples prove this again and again. Think of the person who never applies for promotions because the stronghold says, "You will be rejected." Think of the person who never speaks up because the stronghold says, "Your voice doesn't matter." Think of the person who stays in toxic relationships because the stronghold says, "You don't deserve better." These are not limitations of reality, they are limitations of belief. Breaking strongholds requires courage to question your own thoughts. You must learn to ask, "Was this really true? Or is this a belief I accepted long ago without challenge?" When you hear yourself saying, "Cannot," pause and ask, "Why not?" Most times you will find no real reason, just an old stronghold trying to keep its power. Picture an elephant tied with a rope as a baby. When it was small, it tried to break free but couldn't. Eventually, it accepted the rope as stronger than itself. Years later, the elephant is huge, powerful enough to snap the rope with no effort, but it never tries because the stronghold is not on its leg, it is in its mind. Many people live the same way. They have outgrown the chains of their past, but they don't know it, so they stay tied down by illusions. Breaking mental strongholds is not about ignoring reality, it is about refusing to be controlled by lies. Reality says you may have failed before, but the stronghold says you will always fail. Reality says you faced rejection once, but the stronghold says everyone will reject you forever. The difference between truth and stronghold is that strongholds generalize pain and make it permanent. Look at someone trying to build confidence. The stronghold says, "You are shy, you will always be shy. Don't try to change." But confidence is not about personality, it is about practice. Once that person challenges the stronghold by speaking up, by pushing themselves, they discover that the walls in their mind were thinner than paper. Every time you challenge a stronghold, you weaken it. Every time you act against the lie, you crack the walls a little more. Eventually, the fortress crumbles and you step into freedom you didn't know was possible. Think of someone who believed, I can never run a marathon. I am too weak. That belief was a stronghold, but they started training one step at a time, and each run challenged the thought. When they finally crossed the finish line, the real victory was not just the marathon. It was the destruction of the mental stronghold that once said, you cannot. Strongholds are broken when you replace them with truth. When the thought says, you are not enough, you replace it with, I have everything I need to grow. When the thought says, you will fail, you replace it with, every failure is a step closer to success. When the thought says, you are trapped, you remind yourself, why have choices? I can change, I can rise. The war of life is not only about circumstances, it is about the strongholds that interpret those circumstances. Two people may face the same challenge, but one sees it as the end while the other sees it as the beginning. The difference is not the situation, it is the stronghold in the mind. Until you break strongholds, you will keep repeating the same cycles. You may change jobs, cities, or relationships, but the stronghold will follow you because it is inside you. But once you break it, you carry freedom everywhere you go. Mental strongholds must be broken because they are the invisible chains holding visible destinies hostage. Discipline of the mind is daily. It is not something you do once in a while. It is not something you practice only when life feels heavy. It is a daily commitment, a daily battle, and a daily decision. The mind is like a garden, and every single day seeds are falling into it. Some are seeds of hope, courage, and possibility, while others are seeds of fear, doubt, and despair. If you do not discipline your mind daily, weeds will grow automatically. You do not have to plant weeds for them to appear. They simply show up when you neglect the garden. In the same way, negativity naturally grows in an undisciplined mind. Think about how many thoughts run through your mind in one single day. Some studies say thousands upon dozens. Now imagine if you allow those thoughts to run wild with no control. Your mind will become like a crowded street full of noise, chaos, and confusion. But if you take time each day to discipline it, you begin to filter what stays and what leaves. You begin to take control of the direction of your thoughts rather than being controlled by them. Discipline of the mind is like exercise for the body. You cannot go to the gym one day, lift weights for 5 hours, and expect to stay fit forever. No, fitness comes through consistent daily exercise. In the same way, mental strength does not come from reading one book or listening to one motivational message. It comes from the daily practice of controlling, feeding, and directing your thoughts. In daily life, you see this truth clearly. A student preparing for exams cannot afford to study only when they feel motivated. They must discipline their mind to focus even when distractions call. The discipline of their mind every day is what leads to success on the final day. An athlete cannot train only when the mood is right. Their greatness is built in daily training, in daily routines that strengthen their body and sharpen their focus. Your mind is no different. If you wait for the right mood to think positive, if you wait for the perfect conditions to focus, you will never be consistent. Discipline means doing what is right for your future even when your present feelings resist it. Imagine you wake up in the morning. The first thoughts that come may be negative. Today will be tough. Nothing ever works. I am tired of this routine. If you let those thoughts stay, they will shape your entire day. But if you practice daily discipline, you stop and say, no, I choose a different thought. Today is a chance to grow. Today is an opportunity to do better than yesterday. That single act of discipline in the morning can redirect the path of your day. Discipline of the mind also means controlling what you allow in. Just as you choose what food you eat to keep your body healthy, you must choose what thoughts, information, and conversations you feed your mind with. If you constantly consume negativity, gossip, fearful news, your mind becomes heavy and dark. But if you daily discipline yourself to focus on uplifting content, inspiring ideas, and empowering truths, your mind becomes strong and bright. Think about a person learning to play an instrument. The first days are hard, the fingers do not cooperate, the notes sound terrible. But with daily practice, with disciplined repetition, the same fingers begin to create beautiful music. In the same way, when you first start disciplining your mind, it may feel difficult. The negative thoughts may still try to dominate. But with daily practice, you train your mind to automatically choose strength, hope, and vision. Eventually, what once felt impossible becomes natural. Discipline of the mind is also about resisting distractions. Every day, life will throw endless interruptions at you. Social media, unnecessary conversations, worries about things you cannot control. Without discipline, your mind jumps from one thing to another, wasting energy and leaving you exhausted with nothing accomplished. But with daily discipline, you train yourself to focus on what matters, to silence the noise, and to stay on the path that leads to your goals. Look at anyone who has achieved greatness in any field. Their success was not built on occasional brilliance, but on daily discipline. Writers who produced masterpieces wrote a little every day, even when inspiration was absent. Athletes who broke records trained every day, even when their bodies ached. Leaders who built nations disciplined their minds every day to see possibility where others only saw problems. Discipline of the mind is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is the small, unseen decisions that accumulate into big results. When you choose to think one more positive thought, when you choose to silence one more negative whisper, when you choose to focus for one more hour, you are building the mental muscle that will carry you through challenges. In relationships too, discipline of the mind matters. If you allow every argument to become a storm, if you allow every offense to grow unchecked, your relationships will suffer. But if you discipline your mind daily to forgive, to choose peace, to see the good in others, your relationships grow stronger. In finances, discipline of the mind helps you resist impulsive spending, helps you think long-term, helps you invest in your future rather than satisfy every temporary desire. Every time you tell yourself, I will save, I will plan, I will be patient, you are practicing mental discipline that leads to financial freedom. The truth is, everyone desires success, but not everyone is willing to practice the daily discipline of the mind required to achieve it. Success is not built in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments of daily thought management. Discipline of the mind means refusing to let emotions rule, refusing to let circumstances dictate your belief, refusing to let distractions steal your focus. When you understand this, you stop waiting for motivation to strike, you stop blaming circumstances, you stop making excuses. You begin to take responsibility every single day to direct your mind like a captain steering a ship. Even when storms hit, even when waves rise, the disciplined mind stays steady, guiding the ship toward its destination. Discipline of the mind is daily, and it is the difference between a life that drifts aimlessly and a life that moves with purpose. Words shape thoughts, and thoughts shape destiny. Many people underestimate the power of words because they seem so simple, so ordinary, yet they are architects of the mind. Every word you hear, every word you speak, and every word you silently repeat to yourself is like a brushstroke painting the canvas of your life. Words have the power to build or to break, to heal or to wound, to unlock potential or to chain it forever. Consider a child who grows up in a home where they constantly hear, you are smart, you are loved, you can achieve anything you set your heart on. Those words become the foundation of their thought patterns. When they face challenges later in life, they remember, I am capable, I am strong, I can overcome this. Their thoughts are shaped by the affirming words spoken over them. Now contrast this with a child who grows up hearing, you are worthless, you will never get it right, people like you don't succeed. Those words are seeds that grow into thoughts of inadequacy, fear and hesitation. When opportunities arise, those thoughts echo in their mind, oh, I am not good enough. And slowly, those thoughts shape the reality of their life. Daily life is filled with examples of how words shape thoughts. Think about a teacher who tells a struggling student, I believe in you. That simple phrase can ignite motivation and reshape the student's self-perception. On the other hand, think about a boss who constantly tells their employees, you are useless, you can't do anything right. Soon, even talented workers begin to believe the lie, and their performance drops because the negative words reshape their thoughts. You see, words are not just sounds, they are containers of meaning, carriers of belief. When you repeat something often enough, it becomes embedded in your mind as truth. That is why so many people are held back not by circumstances, but by the words that created their inner dialogue. The harsh word from a parent that was never healed, the cruel insult from a classmate, the negative labels society throws around. These words take root and grow into thought patterns that silently dictate decisions. Imagine you are about to attempt something new, like starting a business. If the words you carry inside are, I am destined to fail, I never get things right, your thoughts will sabotage your actions before you even begin. But if the words you carry are, I am resourceful, I will learn, I can rise again if I fall, then your thoughts will give you courage to step out and persist until you succeed. Words also shape the way we see ourselves. If every morning you look in the mirror and say, I am ugly, I am tired, I am worthless, you are programming your mind to see yourself through that lens. But if you discipline yourself to speak words like, I am growing, I am improving, I am capable, your mind begins to form thoughts that align with those words. Eventually, your actions and outcomes reflect them. Think of athletes before a big competition. They speak words of power. I am ready, I am strong, I will give my best. Those words are not empty, they shape their mental state. Their bodies may be trained, but it is the words that sharpen their thoughts and align their focus. In the same way, when you approach life with empowering words, you shape a mindset of victory, not defeat. Daily conversations also reveal how words shape reality. When friends constantly gather and complain, saying, life is hard, nothing good ever happens, notice how their thoughts spiral downward and their experiences often mirror that negativity. But when you surround yourself with people who say, we can solve this, there is always a way, the future holds promise, your thoughts lift and you begin to see solutions where before you only saw problems. One of the greatest examples is in personal relationships. Words like I appreciate you, I am proud of you, I am grateful for you, create thoughts of love, trust, and security in the other person's mind. But words like you are a failure, you never do anything right, create thoughts of resentment, pain, and distance. The words you speak to others literally shape the way they think about themselves and about you. This is why being mindful of your words is so critical. It is not just about avoiding harsh speech, It is about intentionally using words that build. Every day you have the power to plant seeds in your own mind and in the minds of those around you. You can speak words that ignite courage, words that fuel dreams, words that heal wounds, or words that poison and destroy. Think of someone struggling with their health. If their words are, "I will never get better, I am too weak," those words shape thoughts of hopelessness, which often weaken the body even further. But if their words are, "I am healing, I am getting stronger each day," those words shape thoughts of resilience, which fuel the energy to fight, to recover, to persevere. Words are like steering wheels. Wherever your words go, your thoughts follow. Wherever your thoughts go, your actions follow. And wherever your actions go, your life follows. If your words constantly dwell in negativity, your life will drift in that direction. If your words consistently declare hope, progress, and vision, your life begins to align with those declarations. This is why you must guard your inner dialogue. The most powerful words are not the ones people say to you, but the ones you say to yourself when no one else is listening. If your self-talk is filled with doubt, fear, and criticism, your thoughts will reflect that and your life will shrink. But if your self-talk is filled with faith, courage, and affirmation, your thoughts will expand and your life will grow. Every invention, every breakthrough, every act of courage began with words that shaped thoughts. Someone said, "It is possible," and that word shaped a thought that pushed them forward. Someone else said, "I can do this," and that word shaped a thought that gave birth to action. Look at your own life today. Think about the words you repeat daily. Do they lift you or limit you? Do they inspire or imprison you? Because those words are not harmless. They are shaping the very thoughts that are building your tomorrow. The greatest enemy is self-doubt. It is not the challenges on the outside. It is not the critics who laugh at your dreams. It is not even the obstacles standing in your way. The real battle is inside, the silent whisper that says, "You are not enough. You will never make it. You are not worthy." Self-doubt has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Failure at least teaches lessons and builds strength, but self-doubt stops you before you even begin. It is like standing in front of an open door and convincing yourself it is locked. Think about how many times people give up on opportunities, not because they were incapable, but because self-doubt convinced them they were. A young man wants to apply for a job, but the thought arises, "Why would they hire me? I don't have enough experience." He never applies. Another person wants to start a business, but self-doubt whispers, "What if you fail? What if people laugh at you?" So they stay in their comfort zone, never realizing that the business idea could have changed their life. Self-doubt walks like a shadow. It follows you everywhere, especially when you try to step into something new. You may be talented, skilled, and prepared, but the shadow of doubt makes you shrink back. It makes you question your worth even in areas where you have already proven yourself. It whispers, "Maybe you just got lucky. Maybe you're not as good as you think. Maybe this will be the time you fall flat." In daily life, the effects of self-doubt are visible everywhere. A student who knows the answers in class refuses to raise their hand because the thought says, "What if I am wrong?" A professional with ideas that could transform the company keeps quiet in meetings because the inner voice says, "No one will take you seriously." A person with the ability to love deeply avoids relationships because the doubt says, "You are not lovable enough." What makes self-doubt so dangerous is that it hides behind logic. It pretends to be reasonable. It tells you, "Be realistic, don't aim too high, don't embarrass yourself." But in truth, it is not realism. It is fear dressed as wisdom. And if you listen to it long enough, you begin to live small, you begin to settle for less. You begin to bury your dreams under the heavy weight of hesitation. Imagine a runner at the starting line of a race. The gun is about to fire, but before it does, the runner hears a voice inside. "You are not fast enough. You cannot win. You will embarrass yourself." That runner may never even start the race, not because the legs are weak, but because the mind has already surrendered. In the same way, many people do not lose because life is too hard. They lose because self-doubt convinces them not to try. But here is the truth: self-doubt is not fact. It is only fear disguised as your own thought. It is not the voice of truth. It is the echo of past failures, criticisms, or insecurities replaying in your mind. If you have failed before, self-doubt says you will fail again. If someone once rejected you, self-doubt says everyone will reject you. If you made a mistake, self-doubt says you are nothing but a mistake. But none of these are reality. They are distorted interpretations that chain your potential. Look at people who have achieved greatness. Many of them did not begin with full confidence. They too battled self-doubt. The difference is that they acted in spite of it. A writer who doubted their words still wrote the book. An entrepreneur who doubted their idea still launched the business. An artist who doubted their talent still painted the canvas. Courage is not the absence of self-doubt. It is the decision to move forward anyway. In your daily life, every time you hear the whisper of self-doubt, you are at a crossroads. The voice will say, "Don't speak, don't try, don't move." But if you ignore it and take one small step forward, you weaken its grip. Each step you take in spite of doubt builds a new voice inside you, a voice that says, "I can, I will, I am capable." Over time, that voice grows louder than the whisper of self-doubt. Think of a child learning to ride a bicycle. At first they doubt. I will fall, I can't balance, I am not ready. But after trying, after falling and rising, they discover balance. Suddenly, the thought of doubt is replaced by the experience of confidence. In the same way, in life, the only way to silence self-doubt is through action. Action proves the voice wrong. Action creates evidence. Action replaces fear with faith. Self-doubt is an enemy because it steals joy even in moments of achievement. Someone succeeds, but instead of celebrating, the doubt says, "It's not enough, you could have done better. You don't deserve this." So the person robs themselves of happiness. But when you overcome self-doubt, you learn to embrace progress, to honor your growth, to see yourself as worthy of the journey. In relationships, self-doubt makes you hide your true self. It makes you believe you are not lovable, so you pretend to be someone else. But authenticity is the key to real connection. And when you silence doubt, you show up as you truly are. In career, self-doubt makes you settle for positions far below your capacity. It convinces you that promotion is for others, not for you. But when you challenge it, you begin to take risks, to apply for opportunities, to step into rooms you once thought were too big for you. In dreams, self-doubt makes you shrink your vision. It makes you adjust your dreams to fit your fear, instead of adjusting your fear to fit your dreams. But when you rise against it, you begin to see that you were always capable, that the enemy was never life, but the voice inside telling you not to live fully. The greatest enemy is self-doubt because it does not fight you from the outside. It recruits your own voice to fight against you. It makes you your own jailer, locking yourself behind the bars of hesitation. But when you recognize it for what it is, a lie, a fear, an illusion, you begin to reclaim your power. Each time you choose action over hesitation, courage over fear, belief over doubt, you silence the enemy a little more. Victory is internal before it is external. So many people are chasing battles on the outside, trying to conquer the world, trying to prove themselves to others, trying to build monuments of success, but deep within their own mind, they are losing the war. It does not matter how many trophies you collect, how much wealth you build, or how much applause you receive if internally you are broken, doubtful, or defeated. The truth is that no external achievement can compensate for an internal defeat. Think about it. When a person wins outwardly but loses inwardly, the victory is hollow. You can see examples of this everywhere. Someone may rise to a high position in their career, but internally they feel like an imposter. Someone may achieve financial abundance, but inside they are restless, anxious, and afraid of losing it all. Someone may appear confident in public, but privately they wrestle with insecurity and fear. The external victory looks impressive, but without internal victory, it cannot be sustained. Internal victory means conquering yourself before conquering the world. It means mastering your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs before trying to master circumstances. It means that when challenges come, you are not easily shaken because inside you already won the battle of resilience, discipline, and courage. Daily life proves this truth in countless ways. Imagine two people starting the same business. One is constantly worried, filled with self-doubt, fearing every small mistake. The other faces challenges but has already won internally. They tell themselves, every problem has a solution, I will adapt, I will not quit. Both face external obstacles, but the one with internal victory pushes through and eventually succeeds, while the one without it crumbles under pressure. The external circumstances were the same, but the internal condition determined the outcome. Victory is internal first because the world outside will always test what you carry inside. If you are not strong inwardly, the moment external pressure rises, you collapse. But if you are grounded inwardly, even when storms rage, you remain unshaken. It is like a tree. A tree does not stand tall because of what you see above the ground, but because of the roots buried beneath. When storms hit, the trees with shallow roots fall, but the ones with deep, invisible roots remain standing. In the same way, your internal victory is your root system. Look at athletes again. Their real victory happens long before the competition. It happens in the lonely hours of training, in the mental discipline to keep pushing when the body screams to stop, in the ability to silence doubt and believe in their capacity. When the day of competition comes, people cheer the external victory. But what they do not see is that the battle was already won inside long ago. In relationships too, internal victory matters. If you are not at peace within, if you have not conquered your insecurities, fears and need for validation, you will keep sabotaging your connections. You will demand from others what you have not given yourself. But when you win inside, when you love yourself, when you value yourself, when you are secure in who you are, then your relationships become healthier, stronger, and more fulfilling. Internal victory is also about perspective. Two people may face the same loss. One sinks into despair and believes life is over. The other, though hurt, tells themselves, this is not the end, I will rise again, there is still purpose ahead. The difference is not in the external situation, but in the internal response. Think about students preparing for exams. The ones who panic and say, cannot do this, often freeze and underperform even if they studied. But the ones who enter the exam hall telling themselves, I am ready, I have prepared, I will give my best, often perform better because they have already won the inner battle of confidence. The external result reflects the internal state. Victory is internal before it is external because every outward action is born from inward conviction. Before a business empire is built, it is first built in the mind of the entrepreneur. Before a masterpiece is painted, it is first envisioned in the imagination of the artist. Before a movement is started, it is first birthed in the heart of the leader. The inside victory always comes first. You cannot lead others until you lead yourself. You cannot inspire others until you inspire yourself. You cannot win against the battles outside until you have won the war within. When your mind is strong, when your emotions are stable, when your vision is clear, no external setback can destroy you. Look at history. Every great leader who transformed societies had to win the battle within before they ever changed the world around them. They faced fear, doubt, and criticism, but inside they carried conviction, clarity, and unshakable belief. It was their inner victory that allowed them to keep moving forward. When everything outside screamed to give up, in your daily life, notice how your internal state shapes your outcomes. If you wake up telling yourself, today will be terrible, you carry defeat before the day begins. Even small challenges overwhelm you. But if you wake up telling yourself, today is an opportunity, I will handle whatever comes, you carry victory before the day starts, and even big challenges become stepping stones. Victory is internal first because life will always test your inner strength before rewarding you with outer success. The world reflects what you hold inside. When you carry fear, you see obstacles. When you carry doubt, you see impossibility. But when you carry victory inside, belief, discipline, resilience, you see opportunities where others see dead ends. Real success is not just about the applause of the crowd, but about the quiet moments when you look in the mirror and know you have conquered yourself. It is about silencing the negative voices, overcoming your inner critic, choosing hope when despair seems easier, choosing discipline when laziness tempts, choosing courage when fear shouts the loudest. When you master the inside, the outside begins to follow. When you win the war in your mind, the victories in life become inevitable. The real battlefield has never been the world around you. It has always been the world within you. Life is not waiting to be conquered on the outside. It is waiting to be conquered within. The greatest victories you will ever win are not the ones that the world claps for, but the ones that happen in the silence of your mind, when no one is watching, when the only applause you hear is the one in your heart saying, I chose to rise. You see, destiny does not bow to the loudest noise. It bows to the strongest conviction. The man or woman who has mastered their inner world is unstoppable. Because storms may shake their surroundings, but storms cannot shake a soul that has already found its anchor. You must decide tonight in this very moment that you will no longer surrender your destiny to fear, to doubt, to hesitation. The world has been shaped not by those who never felt afraid, but by those who felt fear and chose to walk through it anyway. Courage has never been the absence of fear. It has always been the decision that something else is more important than fear. What if I fail, you ask, but what if you fly? What if it doesn't work? You whisper. But what if it changes everything? Every battle in life begins and ends in the mind. And the most dangerous war you will ever fight is not against your enemies, not against circumstances, not even against impossibilities, but against the voice inside you that says, you cannot. Do not negotiate with that voice. Do not bow to that voice. Do not let that voice write the story of your life. Because the truth is, that voice is a liar. You are capable of more than you have imagined. You are stronger than you have realized. You are greater than what fear has been telling you all these years. Every great dream began as a thought. Every great empire began as a vision. Every great story began with someone who refused to surrender to self-doubt. Look back at the heroes of history. Look back at the pioneers who broke barriers. Look back at the innovators who changed the course of time. Do you think they never heard the voice of doubt? No, they heard it, but they did not obey it. They heard it, but they kept walking. They heard it, but they said to themselves, I will not let fear decide my future. Life will not hand you victories on a silver platter. Life will test you. Life will shake you. Life will demand from you the discipline of the mind, the courage of the heart, and the resilience of the soul. And in those moments when you feel weakest, remind yourself that diamonds are formed under pressure, that gold is refined by fire, that strength is born in struggle. Do not curse the struggle, because the struggle is the evidence that greatness is trying to emerge from within you. There will always be people who doubt you. There will always be voices that say, cannot be done. But history has always honored the ones who answered back, not with words but with results, not with excuses but with breakthroughs. When the world says impossible, let your life whisper back, watch me. When the crowd says you cannot rise, let your destiny declare, I was born to rise. When fear says you will not survive this storm, let your faith say, this storm will not break me, it will make me. Remember this, a lion does not turn around when a dog barks. You must learn to silence the noise of small minds that try to cage you in their limitations. Your life is too precious to be lived in the shadow of other people's doubts. Your calling is too great to be measured by the expectations of the crowd. You must dare to believe in yourself, because if you do not, no one else will do it for you. You have one life, and the clock is ticking. How long will you keep postponing your dreams? How long will you keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect support? Perfection is a myth. The perfect time is not someday, it is now. The perfect person is not someone else, it is you. The perfect opportunity is not in the future, it is in the courage to begin today. Listen to me. Your past does not define you. Your mistakes are not your identity. Your failures are not your destiny. They are only chapters in your story, not the whole book. What matters is not where you have been, but where you choose to go from here. Greatness is not reserved for the chosen few, it is reserved for those who choose to rise. Every time you stand up after being knocked down, you are winning. Every time you silence the negative voice and move forward, you are winning. Every time you decide to believe in your vision, even when no one else does, you are winning. Victory is not one big moment. Victory is 1,000 small decisions to keep going, to keep fighting, to keep believing. The battle within the mind is the birthplace of every external triumph. If you win here, you win everywhere. So tonight, choose victory. Choose to silence the lies. Choose to break the chains. Choose to believe that you are more than your fear, more than your failures, more than your doubts. And when the voices rise tomorrow to tell you, you cannot, answer them with the fire of your actions. When the shadows whisper, you are not enough, walk boldly into the light and prove them wrong. When the weight of life tries to bury you, remember, seeds grow when they are buried. The same soil that tried to crush you will be the soil that grows you. So rise with courage, rise with fire in your heart, rise with conviction in your soul. Rise with the unshakable belief that you were not born to be ordinary, you were born to be extraordinary. Rise because someone out there is waiting for the courage inside you to unlock the courage inside them. Rise because your victory will not just change your life, it will inspire others to fight their own battles and win. Rise because this is your moment and this is your time.